Good morning, everybody. Valerie Ling here, coming to you live from my home office, also a home studio. It's where I tend to broadcast some of my lives, and it's becoming more and more of a common place for me to sit and do work. I wanted to share with you my thoughts on working from home without much preparation. And basically, it brings together a bunch of thoughts that comes from personally having worked at home for many years, and also helping other people over the years who work from home, who actually tend to have a collision course with home and work, and not knowing how to work through boundary issues and how to be effective, how to be productive, and actually land up burning out. So I wanted to share with you some preliminary thoughts on what I think is the situation. Now, I guess one could say that a cookie cutter approach to working from home, when you've had time to prepare, when you've had time to actually think about whether or not you want to do it. So if you actually think about it, for those of us who work from home as a normal course of what we do, probably came into it with a degree of thought, a degree of planning, a degree of maybe it synergizing with the way that we do life and work, and with our team, maybe we work remotely. So there's some thought that goes into it and a degree of acceptance. However, the situation that we find ourselves in right now means that we may not actually like working from home with very little preparation. And of course, trying to then blend in everybody trying to make sense of how to do it all at once. So the situation we find ourselves in is quite different from if we were intentionally working from home. So, that being the framework, I would like to share with you my thoughts on working from home. Let's make sure. Okay, so here we go. Working from home without much preparation. First thing is that we're all just going to need to be prepared to shift. When you are working from home as an imposed restriction, as an imposed condition, we're going to have to make rapid changes. And so being able to say, you know what, we're making these changes really quickly without much preparation is okay. And therefore, your workday may need to look different. Uh, not that everyone is, now that everyone is working and schooling from home. Typo. I did this very late at night. You may need to, your workday may need to look different now that everyone is working and schooling from home. Meaning, trying to keep your work shape in terms of how you used to do it, when you start, when you finish, could work. It could not work. And that's actually okay. So consider a couple of things. For example, you may want to cluster your work time to when the home is quietest and without distractions, if that really works for you. You may need to start your work day earlier than you would normally. For example, if prior to this your workday started at 8:30, but 8:30 is also when you're juggling other demands now that everybody is at home, you could consider starting your workday a little earlier, 6:30 maybe, just for this period of time. Now, consider also when you're going to put your heaviest focus task, meaning that when you were working in an office or in your environment, when you did your work may have been dictated by the general flow of the office or the environment. We have 10 o'clock staff meeting, we have 11 o'clock whatever teleconference, right? And it was built around the flow of the environment. But now you get to decide, you probably need to decide, when is going to be the time of day that works best for you to put your heaviest demands on you, where you're going to put it. 90 minutes of deep focus. So if you feel the most energized, the most alert, the most focused, and the home environment is the least distracting between the hours of here and here, then put the tasks that require some deep focus, deep concentration, and heavy lifting cognitive resources there. So if you prior to this were starting the day not doing that or not chunking your work that way, this could be one way to think of it. Your attention. When you're working at home, resist the urge to multitask personal attention and work attention, right? Prior to this, when you were in a not working from home, it could have given you the kind of relief, right? Like you just switch off a little bit and answer some emails personally, or maybe just check on the kids' timetable and say, oh, where are they at school, or flick through WhatsApp or whatever. Now, that was because the purpose of that or the place of that was to actually give you attentional relief. Right now, when you're working from home, your attention is actually battling a bunch of things. There is the anxiety about the change. There is thinking about, the feeling that the desk doesn't quite feel the way that you would like it to feel. The peripheral vision of clutter, right? And so resist the urge to multitask right now. What you want to head for is deep focus. Create an environment and an avenue, a way for you to just not be flitting your attention from one thing to another, but actually having deep focus in the one thing that you're doing. Chunk your intentional focus to clearly compartmentalized zones. So when you're going to exercise, when you're going to do the groceries, when resist the urge just because you're working from home that you can slip and slide these different attentional focus into one another. Your workspace. This is a really common thing for those of us who work at home. We have some hot spots at home that really, really bother us. If the garage is messy, if the dishes in the sink really annoy you, if the untidy dining table, if the poorly stacked dishwasher, because now everybody's rushing in the dishwasher, walk away from those hotspots. Walk away, people, walk away. Now is not the time to get into the thinking that if I could just fix that, I will focus much better. Or if I could just do that, my work environment, you will be swallowed by the swamp that is home distractions. Walk away from it. Schedule your day effectively. So much easier said than done, because why? There are a bazillion disruptions. So here's what I'm going to say. First up, just expect that things are going to take longer. Whereas before, you might have been able to get through task A in 30 minutes, it will probably take you 45 minutes. Whereas before, you were able to get X, Y, and Z fitted into your work routine, you will probably only get X done. That's just the way it is. So there's no need to be overly rigid. I understand from the best of our intentions, we want to keep to routines as much as possible. However, sometimes that can be a real aggravator because we can finish the day feeling like we failed work at home because we were not able to stick to the schedule. And here's the thing, you probably are going to find it really difficult on a day-to-day basis to stick to a rigid schedule, particularly if you have other people in your home, particularly if you have other people in your home. So there's no need to be overly rigid. Head for effective zones of work, rest, play, connecting, and exercising, right? Just head for effectively being able to do it. Figuring out the length of time that is needed, where that is needed. So where are the best spaces in your home? Utilize and be creative about all of those different spaces that exist. Think also with appropriate social distancing. Where are the spaces right outside of your door that exist for you, like your local park or a bench that you can sit in, where you can do any of those activities, including working, right? If you're the only person in your local park, there's nobody else there, and it's appropriate, you could be able to actually sit there and do a decent chunk of deep focus work. Yeah. So particularly if you need to just get out of the house and the chaos, right? If you need to um, do what you need to do, but, and we'll come to this other slide then, is that we need to communicate. Hey, guess what? You can head for a drive and have a teleconference as well. Hands-free, of course, not the car, your phone. You can head for a drive, put your phone on the little, what you have to hold your phone so that you can hold the wheel and do notes, talk out loud. Are you missing that? I am missing that, right? I love talking out loud. It's not because I love to hear my voice, but just that bouncing back, right? You can do that. You head for apps as well that can auto dictate, for example. You're dictating things and things are getting done. So use your car as well if you're in your little bubble and you're not getting out, to use that as a way to feel like you're getting out of the house and also that you can do some work. It's going to be harder to have clear clock off times as accommodating to people's varying schedules is likely to be common. In other words, whereas before you could say that I've finished my day or work is finished, it's going to be a little bit difficult, especially if you're having other people in the home. Just adapt. Don't be too concerned about maintaining a rigid shape of what the workday must look like. Monday could look vastly different from Thursday, could look vastly different from Friday, and it's okay. Here's a really, 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 really important one. Remember to move, right? This is all going to get fixed and rigid because right now we're doing a bunch of working. Oh, ergonomics. I can't remember if I put this in the slides. Ergonomics. Look, if you're going to be spending lots of time actually sitting at home and working, you may not have put a great deal of thought into ergonomically how your workspace is set up. The height of the screen, whether you're hunching and typing, whether your seat is supporting your back, where your feet is being placed. This will be a great time to actually invest in some research and setting up your work environment to be ergonomically effective for you. Now, working from home means a significant reduction in activity. You're not needing to walk between offices, public transport, sports, parking to get lunch. The toilet is probably even a lot closer than what it was before, right? So can I encourage you that our mental health needs to adapt to this. If you had a couple of months to prepare yourself from working from home, you might have figured out, after about 2 months that, oh my word, everything feels kind of stiff and I feel like, yeah, when I work from home. And then you'd have places to go and exercise and meet with your buddies, but it's not so at the moment. So how can you actually keep moving at home, right? What are the different ways? Set a timer on your watch or give yourself a little alarm to actually figure out how you can actually do that, whether you're walking upstairs and downstairs a couple of times, whether you're actually going outside and doing a couple of punches or whatever. There are plenty of YouTube videos that you can get to give you some ideas about that. Exercising at the gym may be off the cards for now. Consider setting up an exercise station in your yard, garage, spare room, access some videos online. Now, here's another important one that I would love us to think about. We can get overly rigid about the day must look like this. And so there are some helpful tips, and I no doubt believe it is helpful, right? However, we are all different people. There are different personality types. And whereas before we might have chosen to work from home because our personality type really agrees with that, right now, we're all working from home with no choice and with no attention to actually what our personality is like and how we do things. So have a deeper thought about the functions that are currently missing for you when you are working from home. For example, what is actually really missing from your daily commute to work, right? For some of us, it was the only space we could hear our voice when nobody else could bother us. For some of us, it was catch-up time. It was an opportunity to actually start the day catching up with some of the tasks that we had before. For some of us, it was just the ability to get out and walk and enjoy the scenery and listen to music, whatever. What are you actually really missing from your commute? What are you actually missing from your lunch break? Was it the fact that you loved the ability to get something that you didn't cook? Or the fact that you really enjoyed talking to your regular barista or the sandwich person downstairs? What is actually missing from your lunch break? What is actually missing from your social interactions? Did you love the feeling of holding onto a cuppa and the sound of the kettle going and crunching on a biscuit while chatting with a colleague? Your routines, your schedules. What is it? What you could be missing, not quite the activity, but maybe the function that it served, either reflection time, local social gossip, the feeling of familiarity, predictability, feeling productive, catching up on a podcast. What is it? That's what you capture and substitute now in your daily routine. I can tell you hands down now, it will do me nothing to go and sit by my window and pretend I was commuting to work, because that is not the function that I'm missing. My drive to work was always an opportunity for me to call someone, to be efficient in a meeting, to have privacy, or to connect with someone, right? That's the function that I'm missing, not driving to work. So think about that in terms of what is the function that you need to substitute to put back into your day. Now, for some of us, keeping the shape of work is really, really important, right? For some of us, the vast majority of us, really. When you look at people who are made redundant or who have lost their job, one of the big losses is the dose of feeling a sense of achievement and feeling productive by actually going to work, as well as the social connections. So for many of us, we associate changing into our work clothes, grabbing that coffee, opening up the laptop, checking the emails as a kind of signal to launch that we are being productive and garnering feelings of achievement. If this is the case for you, keep doing that, even if you are at home, right? I can't really work in my pajamas. I can when I'm trying to be cheeky and I, for the fun of it, do lives maybe with pajama bottoms and funny socks. That's because I'm in playful mode. But for me, for work, I can't work in my pajamas. I got to get dressed for work. It's like this thing comes upon me and it launches me, right? Uh, that recover that for yourself if that is what helps you to feel like clocked on for work. Working from home can be isolating, not only for a lack of social interaction, but also for a lack of input and feedback. So, this is the thing, right? When we're working with others, we also get a feeling that people are inputting to our work. So, have a way to continue to make that happen. We may need to actually be more intentional in our meetings. I've been saying to the people I've been working with, you probably need to make your meetings longer for a few reasons, because you're actually going to need to have to go around engage for people. How many of you have done Zoom meetings now and the screen just looks like mullets? Is that the right? Well, maybe not mullets, but maybe just, people with eyes wide open and blank, okay? Because we're all interacting with the screen differently. Some of us, we're in like, I hate being on camera. I don't want to see myself on camera zone. Some of us are trying to read the crowd, and so it's really different when we don't have in-room dynamics. So we may actually need to identify what we need when we're actually interacting with others. Do we need input? Do we need feedback? Do we need a touch base for morale? Is it for touching base of, have we missed on some of our routines and rituals that promote a sense of positive culture? What is that? Make sure that you have collegial remote conversations. Be sure to include a time to check in, to celebrate the wins, and then trading ideas of how people are actually doing working from home effectively. Then make sure you let others in on your schedule, right? One of the most common things that I get from in the past helping people to transition to working from home is that other people in the home have no idea when they're working and when they're not. And because we're all trying to figure this out differently, we're all going to have different ways of working. And it's a really helpful thing to actually communicate. So if you have other people working from home, they will need to know when you are working, when you are not, particularly if you have children. They're going to have no clue. Everybody looks like they're having a school holiday and just doing online extra bits. You could consider syncing your break times with the people that you're with other members of the household, maybe even just one break time. At the moment, for us, recess seems to work. Um, it's a natural time for us to have our coffee as well, and so we're doing that. Have routine household meetings to touch base and problem solve what each other needs. Don't assume that you are going to be aware or that people have the same needs. What is working, what is not working, and adjust together. Now, remember this, you do not have to become best friends overnight if you're living in a household. You do not have to suddenly uh, become the best. Like conflict is resolved, right? In fact, it's probably all going to get exacerbated. Like that's like another workshop in itself, which I think I will put out. You don't have to become best friends overnight, except, oh, late night spelling error again, except that each will need time out from the herd. You're going to need time out from the herd, and you're going to need to communicate these guys. I'm just going to need some time away from you. This is what it looks like. When I'm playing my guitar, when I'm in the kitchen doing dinner, that's my time out from the herd. Communicate when this will happen, what it will look like, and how each other will know that it is a time out situation. Well, those were some of my late night thoughts. I literally sat down and just did a brain dump of all of that. I'm hoping it resonated with some of you. Would love your thoughts, comments, questions, or things that you can add so that we can make this a helpful resource for everybody.